What if the fear you carry isn't even yours to begin with? This is something that to a certain extent affects all of us. Fear. Not just any fear, but the type that gets passed down like an unwanted inheritance. The type that spreads through communities like a wildfire. I've been observing kids lately, the confident ones, and there's something fascinating about them. Beyond sharing their parents' values, these kids are watered daily by words of life and encouragement that is shared in their homes. But flip that coin, and you can see how negative words can plant seeds of fear that basically grow into forests of doubt. One of my favorite movies is The Pursuit of Happiness, and you can see where Will Smith is playing basketball with his son, and they're having a very interesting conversation.
I'm going pro!
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. You'll probably be about as good as I was. That's kind of the way it works, and I was below average. So you'll probably ultimately rank somewhere around there, so you'll excel at a lot of things, just not this. I don't want you out here shooting this ball around all day and night, all right?
All right.
Okay? All right, go ahead. Hey. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Which is why I have decided that I'll personally have a rule in my own home where we would never insult our kids. They'll always speak life into each other. We'll always speak life into them also, because I don't want a situation where seeds of doubt and fear are planted in their hearts. So back to the main purpose of the video. Fear isn't just an emotion. It's a force powerful enough to reshape economies and also rewrite stories of entire regions. When fear takes over a region, it creates a devastating domino effect. Let's take what happened in the past in Nigeria. Businesses are basically shutting down, right? Investors are pulling out, and property values are basically hitting the floor. Young talents had to leave, taking their skills and potential elsewhere. The brain drain was real. But it went deeper than that. When fear became the dominant emotion in the market, this is what happened. Farmers became scared to visit their land, which caused food scarcity. Traders became so afraid to transport goods, which led to inflation. Parents stopped their kids from going to school, which basically created generational gaps in education. And worst of all, entrepreneurs started looking for safer places to carry their business, which basically led to communities losing access to most essential services. Another example we can look at is what happened in Egypt, right? During the period of unrest, tourism basically went down. More also, you can look at how the value of real estate plummets in places that are basically marked as unsafe. One single headline can basically wipe away billions in market share value overnight. Let me show you a personal experience with you. So a few weeks ago in East Africa, I was having breakfast with Nigerian who lives in Europe, right? And we're exchanging stories of like countries and like things we do in the different places. And I mentioned how I like taking road trips, mentioning the states I've traveled to, like I drive across to, right? And suddenly you could see the dread that washed over her face, and she was begging me and saying, hey, man, stop taking road trips to these places. It's dangerous, there's a lot of kidnappings, there's a lot of killings that goes on. She was painting really graphic pictures. And what I found interesting was how easy it could be for me to key or lean into these fears, right? I've met people who carry fears that are not theirs, how people say they can't trust other humans, or they read stories on social media and then imbibe these fears. Taking it back to the road trip, right? I recently had a road trip with my friends a few days ago, still in northern Nigeria, and I was left thinking, if I had keyed into this fear, I would deprive myself of this experience. This is not to trivialize the things that happen, right? But it's to say, sometimes to live, you have to rise above fear. Looking back to my previous example, this is why terrorism is so devastating. Millions living in fear because a chosen few decide to basically perpetrate evil. I remember when I moved to the north, the warnings basically came flooding in. Leave, hey, don't fall sick, which was quite odd. It was basically people projecting their fear, right? And now I also have people who mean well, but telling me to do the exact same thing to Nigeria, like leave, don't stay there, it's not safe, the systems there don't work for you. I get where they're coming from, but I can also see that this love or this advice is clouded in fear. But let's bring this closer to home. How many of us are living smaller lives because of fear? Maybe you're clinging to that pensionable job instead of launching your own dream business. Maybe you're postponing love, convinced you need millions, before even thinking about getting married. Or maybe you're hiding your own God-given talents because your skills haven't caught up to your taste yet. This happened to me actually. It's why I almost didn't start doing the series. So what do we do to combat this? I remember watching a movie a few years ago that said bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's basically doing the thing that needs to be done despite being afraid. Or was it even Nelson Mandela that said that? But I know it's not as simple as flipping a switch, right? So here are a few things I know that would work. One, it begins with feeding ourselves with courage-building information, right? And the second one is basically rooted in faith, where you're basically feeding yourself on God's word. And remember, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. And the third one is facing your fears head on, one step at a time. So you know what helps me? I mean, God stands on you. That's my name, right? It's my identity. When you understand the power of your identity, it helps you combat fear. So here's my challenge to you. Identify one fear that isn't yours. It could be personal, it could be projected, it could be communal, it could be inherited. Essentially, the plan is to see the fear, name it, identify it, and face it head on. Remember, the opposite of fear isn't always courage. It's sometimes faith. Faith in God, faith in yourself, and faith in the journey ahead.